shit, where do we go? There we are. This is pretty on point. What is this? Maybe example number 2037 of how social movements go to die within the Democratic Party. Democratic Party is the death of social movements. Pro-Sanders group rebranding into Pragmatic Progressive. What was it before? Our Revolution or something? Is that what it was? Our Revolution, Bernie, just sheepdogging people into the Democratic Party, claiming to support all of these things and getting nothing out of it. Yeah, it used to be called Our Revolution. Rather than insisting on Medicare for all, which is so, think about, the cognitive dissonance here. What are these people thinking? Bernie Sanders, both times he ran for president, right, was huge part of his campaign platform was Medicare for all, getting universal health care in the U.S. so we don't have people going bankrupt because of medical debt. We don't have tens of thousands of people dying each year because they don't have health care. But now that it went from Our Revolution to Pragmatic Progressives, they don't support Medicare for all anymore. I mean, Jesus Christ. Or a Green New Deal so we have a fucking inhabitable planet to live on. Kind of also important. Pragmatic Progressives. I mean, Jesus Christ. Instead, Our Revolution is focusing on the more modest alternative endorsed by Joe Biden. Again, Democratic Party is where social movements go to die. It's the death of social movements. It's the death of progress. These movements, these people get sucked up by the Democratic Party, and how the Democratic Party is bought and paid for by the corporations, whether it's oil and gas, pharmaceutical, military-industrial complex, big banks, Wall Street, big real estate. You go into the Democratic Party, you're going to run up against those influences. So that's how Our Revolution went to Pragmatic Progressives, and instead of fighting for Medicare for all or the Green New Deal, they want to expand eligibility for the existing Medicare programs and curtail federal subsidies for fossil fuel companies. The group says it wants to make sure Biden keeps his promises on those and other he hasn't kept any fucking how delusional are these Pragmatic Progressives? I mean, Jesus Christ. I mean, you do have to be somewhat delusional to think any type of substantive change is going to come from within the Democratic Party. And obviously it goes for the fucking Republican Party. They're just as bad. Democratic Party is slightly better on social issues for the most part. On economic issues, they're both fucking shit. The shift reflects a progressive movement that is at a crossroads. Biden won the Democratic nomination last year by offering more centrist alternatives to much of Sanders' agenda. He didn't win on his own. The whole Democratic establishment was working behind the scenes at a frenzied pace to do everything that they could to make sure Bernie Sanders wasn't the nominee. If they hadn't been doing that, if they hadn't been if Obama hadn't been making calls, if all these other more right-wing Democrats hadn't dropped out, endorsed Biden, etc., we'd probably be having a different conversation right now. And the failings of the Sanders campaign itself, I don't know if this was all on Bernie or if he was getting shitty advice from people in his corner, but he did not campaign to win. You can't go out there and say that your opponent, in this case Biden, could defeat Trump and he's your friend, he's such a good guy. No, Shut the fuck up with that if you're actually trying to win the nomination, Bernie. Jesus Christ. Pragmatic progressives. I mean, how on brand. You went from our revolution to pragmatic progressives, and now you no longer are advocating for Medicare for all or a Green New Deal. That's Jesus Christ. That's why the term progressives it fucking means nothing. That's why a lot of people get away with using it, because I'm a progressive. I want, to not fight for Medicare for all anymore, but we're going to be pragmatic and get a few things done. Maybe. Jesus. Coming out of Bernie's 2016 campaign, in some ways the org was probably more of a bridge org between the two electoral cycles, Joseph, our Revolution's executive director, said in an interview. What we're trying to build is something that is longer term and part of the overall ecosystem of the progressive movement. I think we're rooted in bold progressive vision, but we're also pragmatic progressives, and we understand that Biden is a corporatist piece of shit, and we have no way of pushing him on these issues. Jesus. But, they're not all bad. It looks like they're doing some work to get Nina Turner elected. That's good. We'll see if she gets elected. Is she going to be another one of these politicians who stops talking about Medicare for all like AOC has once Biden got in office? Maybe. Again, I'm not super surprised. This is pretty on point with these groups, these democratic liberal groups who want to remain, to be able, to stay close to these people of power and be able to get in their ear and have that influence. So you can't be overly critical. We can't actually, fight for substantive change. It's just got to be these little tweaks that keep the people in power happy, so they're able to keep, getting, their interviews or photo ops or whatever it is. So not surprising that this group made this shift and, abandoned these core principles, but just, again, another example of how Democratic Party is the death of social movements, right? Like the video if you like the damn video, subscribe for more content, share, become a Patron if you're so inclined, support my content on there, get access to extra exclusives as well. Peace, much love.